the current definition of Islam right now is a franchise of Buddhism.
As soon as you talk about jihad or fi sabilillah or anything like that, people flinch. Oh my God, don't talk about this.
So people of Lut alayhi salam, they were doing da'wah and they were fasting. They were doing everything, under the commandments of Ibrahim alayhi salam. But when God sent his wrath upon them, he said, first, let those people come under this fire. Who are the followers of Lut? Because that's not why I sent you down there.
I do things like that. So I take very small small short ads with high rewards. It's like Islamic. It's like halal clickbait.
That's not the purpose of Islam. The worst people in the eyes of Islam are the people who are keeping their salah. They're fasting. They do their hajj. They do umrah every year.
Yeah.
This is where they come to do their umrah, and this is Palestine. They come around Palestine. They go back. They're fasting. They're paying zakat. They're doing their prayers, and they did their hajj. So if you did not know what the vision of this company is, they would think that they deserve a raise.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though 40,000 Palestinians being killed while they're doing Umrah. And they're actually talking to each other. Mommy's saying to the daughter, daddy's saying to the son, while doing Umrah, that you know what, see, God has given us this opportunity. God has cleansed us. We are the chosen ones. Just makes it to this holy place without God's will. God has called upon us. God has called literally us here. 200 aerial miles distance. 40,000 kids are saying to the same God that we are not gonna let them cross that bridge of Sirat on the day of judgment. They came from all over the world. And they turn their back on us. You want me to become a part of that religion? Where you feel good, do your umrahs, do your hajjs, and you let your kids die? The original definition of Islam is so attractive that every boy, 12, 13, 14, would fascinate to be a part of this company. When we say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, that's the start of the Quran. The Quran starts with that. If you do not define the word Alameen in front of a child, you took him off of the base. This boy would have been an astronomer from day one. The verse 1 of the Quran makes us astronomers, the smartest people in the world right now. But they're saying it's the two things we cannot understand. And the biggest question is, what is dark energy? What's going on in the black hole? And what's going on inside our brains? And that is the two things Allah is coupling in every single ayah. So what I'm saying is, this dawah NASA is doing. This dawah Imperial America is doing. This dawah liberal democracy is doing. And what we're doing is, you know what? If you have a broken family, come and give you solace.
I understand what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Sahil, how are you today?
Alhamdulillah wa alaikum assalam. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Is this your first time in Scotland?
No, actually my second time.
Second time?
Yeah.
When did you come first time?
January, maybe. I don't remember. February or January.
This year?
This year,
This year. And you loved it that much that you wanted to come back to this beautiful weather.
It is. Actually, I think it's probably the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life.
Is it? Out of all the places that you've been to?
Yeah,
you
and I've been around.
And you've been around, yeah. You've been to a lot of countries, I know that much. And Scotland's that nice, yeah?
Scotland's beautiful, yeah. It's clean. I think it's just too serene. And, it just speaks out.
Subhanallah, that's amazing because born and bred in Scotland.
Really?
I was born and bred in Scotland, alhamdulillah. Yeah. And it's been a bit of for me, it's been a bit of a mad one, how I got involved in da'wah, and, I had a crisis of faith. I didn't probably identify as a Muslim for a long period of my life. And
how long?
How long? I'd probably say from the moment I left the masjid, I was about 10, 11. I was culturally Muslim, this is haram and that's haram, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. But then when I hit primary school and high school, I just went off the rails. I always probably believed there's a creator. I didn't know who Allah was. I didn't know, who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. You have an idea as a kid. They tell you, this is the messenger, but nobody explains to you what a messenger is. They say to you, there's a God. His name's Allah, but they don't tell you what Allah is and what his attributes are. And when I was growing up, I grew up in the 90s. So I grew up in the 90s, and we never had much. The Imam barely spoke English. We spoke Punjabi. I had broken Urdu. And it didn't really, there was no connection there. And the only connection I had with the Quran or going to the masjid or with the deen was getting beat up. This is haram. If you do this, you go to hell. You don't even know what the concept of hell is. You rarely talked about Jannah as a kid growing up. Speaking to my friends, all the observations that I've done. So, and I know this is one of your within your talks and lectures, this is what you drive home as the nucleus of the family.
Yeah.
And the togetherness of the family. Because in the West, they're teaching us, the mother has to work, the father has to work, the woman's all independent, the man's all independent, the kids are raised by the state or the school or the nanny or somebody who's not the parents. And then, the kids go off the rails, and by that time it's too late. So I know this is something that you focus on, but my question was, I think really, what first got you into this? When did you first notice that, the problems lie not in the masjid straight away or the way we're taught or anything, but from the home, from the parents? When was that a realization for you?
How old are you?
I'm 39.
Well, I grew up in America.
Right.
And that was a pretty decent time in America because, there was not much going on about Islamophobia and, all that stuff. So domestic drivers were the only identity drivers. Their markers were set by the father or the mother. And it was a pretty easy time in Chicago, where, nobody gave you any kind of heat for being whatever you are. And so we didn't really have to fight for identity. So I had a household where you had to question. No matter what is being told, you had to question. And that actually drives the real concepts deep enough because you ponder and you think about that. Plus, I had the luxury, by the qadr of Allah, of being the middle child of three brothers. I had two brothers who were always conversing about, deeper stuff coming straight from my father. So it was pretty easy because, there was no resistance, there was no friction. Now, after the 2000, the Gen Z, and a little before that as well, kids who grew up in the 2000s in school and colleges, they had to fight for their identity. Actually, that actually helps in a lot of ways, but you have to get those concepts straight from your folks. And you're right about this, and that's why I'm going to ask you the next question, because you're right about the fact that you're a cultural Muslim. I call it a ritual Muslim. Yeah. Okay. And that's just not going to cut it because, everybody's got a lot of information now. And because of this dopamine culture, everyone wants to debate.
Yep.
Everyone wants to, win some sort of argument, try and prove that he's smart. So unless you are being trained into Islam, or any philosophy for that matter, you're not going to win any debate. And they are going to pick you for any and every concept that you're trying to actually. So most of the Muslims, they're not, grounded well in their own homes. They tend to go quiet, and they become an easy prey.
Yep.
And even if someone's picking on them, subconsciously, they lose their identity way more than the person who's actually losing a debate somewhere.
Yeah.
Because this guy has to prove a point. So he's got this a lot of epinephrine going on, that adrenaline. He's got this ego lined up. But this guy was, most of the people who are spectators, they're quiet, they're too shy, because they know nothing about what's going on in the debate. And they're actually trying to learn from the debate. And that dude does not really know how to debate. And I'm talking about that Muslim guy.
No, you're right, 100%. Yeah.
So what they do is they end up losing whatever is, whatever grains of identity they actually were carrying forth from their own broken families.
Yeah.
And that's why my question, because when you were describing your journey, I was thinking, when you said that, you left the masjid and then you came back, what were the definition? I mean, you said, okay, you never knew what Allah Azza wa Jalla is, and what was the point of sending prophets, and who is the prophet, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, or any prophet, alayhi salam. Who told you what? I really want, what? The contention I have is that we, at this day and age, after being exposed to so much information, we still have defined Islam wrong. And my only stencil is the Prophet ﷺ. My stencil is that teaching methodology and the core concept that he ﷺ gave to the companions. And now I know, and I've been around, I have actually been facing the heat from just about every angle, because I actually call them for it. Now, if this definition is not validated by Umar ibn Khattab or Abu Bakr Siddiq or Ali ibn Abi Talib or any of the great names that actually, wrote something about these core concepts, then, it's got to be wrong. So when you were saying, and inshallah, you're going to build up on this, of how did you find God, Azza wa Jal, and what is the definition of God that you have? Who told you that, and how did it bring you back in the game?
Yeah. So for me, Alhamdulillah, I was lucky that my granddad, he moved from Bradford. So I don't know if you know about Bradford, but they call it Bradistan.
I had a couple of sessions there.
So you see the Muslims, and sometimes you see the state of Bradford. It's got everything. It's got from, the most pious to the most worst of Muslims to everything.
Yeah.
So my granddad, he's seen from when he was alive, may Allah grant him Jannah al-Firdaus now. He used to talk about the reason why he moved to Scotland, and he didn't want his children growing up in that environment. So I think we were saved that way because my dad, and especially my dad.
How old were you?
I wasn't born then. Yeah, I wasn't born.
No, I just want to go to that point in your life where you transited back.
So when I came back, I was about 20, 21, 22, 23, round about that age. So I had done everything. I had done, I don't want to expose sins, but I had done.
No, I don't want to know that. Yeah, I know.
I had done everything, and I couldn't find that peace. I looked into a lot of religions as well. So I looked into Christianity. It just didn't make any sense to me. I looked into Hinduism, and I was like, this is crazy. I looked into, the only one that really sort of brought anything was probably Buddhism.
Buddhism. I was about to say that.
Buddhism, because it's not concentrating about your ego. I think it's the only one outside of Islam where it's you're trying to give thanks to something, but they don't know what to give thanks to. So they give it to the creation or, things along those lines this was a long time ago. I'm talking about 18, 19 years ago when I first looked at this. And then I was working, I was a pipe fitter and welder. So I was a manual labourer, tradesman, very, doing the people that I learned from, they were very rough and rugged around the edges. But one thing about them, they had morals. And one of them said to me, what even makes you a Muslim? Obviously,
and that dude's not a Muslim, right?
The guy was an atheist. He was an ex-army who had fought in,
This is Scotland I'm talking about.
Yeah, he was talking about in Scotland. He had fought in Iraq. He fought against the Muslims. He goes to me, what even makes you a Muslim? And I goes, what? And he goes, you don't do, the only thing you do is eat halal, if that. And I was like, and it was off the cuff comment. I said, well, God's all forgiving anyway. And he goes, well, if that's your version of God and he's all forgiving, I don't want to be a Muslim. That's what he said. And it was like something shook me to my core. And when Allah Azza wa Jalla, Rasul says Allah guides whomever he wants, whenever he wants, and however he wants. Yeah. And that shook me to my core. I've never had a wake-up call like that. To this day, I've never had a wake-up call like that in my life.
Hold on, let's just pause there. Okay, hold on. So you're telling this atheist that I believe in God, all forgiving.
Yeah.
Even though that's like the grand luxury any human being would naturally, innately want.
Yeah.
And this dude flips out and says, I need justice.
Yes. He basically is what he said.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Exactly what he said. Exactly what he said. And I just stopped speaking. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And I went on a 6-month journey after that. A 6-month journey of questioning, not God, not his existence, but if you're real, show yourself. You say that if you say that with knowledge, that's a big no-no, right? But I had no knowledge, I had nothing, right? So I didn't say show yourself, I said give me a sign. Give me a sign, something, right?
Pretty Scottish of you.
Yeah, give me a sign, right? Like it says in the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jalla says when he says that we will show them signs within themselves and on the horizon, And so, and the signs, what I came to find out later on were, it's a miracle to yourself. So something might happen to me and I might find it, out this world, but for you, you might look
at it. I know.
Yeah,
I'm all ears. Did lightning strike? How did lightning strike for you?
The first lightning that struck was, there was a caravan. I remember I worked tonight, like I said, I'm a pipe fitter and welder, and I used to work away. And 1 week out of the year, we would go back to the main office. And it was April, it was the start of the financial year. I won't go into details why we did that, but we were in there and we had in the yard, I remember it was mud, and it had been raining, and there was a caravan stuck in the mud. Like I'm talking like, when you see like the mud? It was a caravan, it's a big trailer. It goes on the back of a car or a back of a lorry.
The caravan, the RVs.
Right, the RVs, It was an RV type, right?
Okay.
Yeah, for the Americans, right? But this thing was stuck in the ground, and I'm talking it was a big 10-foot monster thing, wheels that were, big, stuck in the mud proper. And there was 6 or 7 big, strong Scottish guys, 6'5", and I'm not the tallest, I'm only, 5'7" or whatever, right? And these guys are trying to push it, and I was like, okay, today's the test. So I'm going to say, I said, God, or Allah, if you're real, let me put my hand on this and this thing moves. And I was like, there's no way this is going to happen, right? I was like, there's no way this is going to happen. And wallahi, this happened. I said, Bismillah. And as soon as my fingers touched the RV, the thing went forward about 4 or 5 feet. It was like somebody picked it up and chucked it. And the guys were like, everybody took a step back and they were like, what happened there? And I was like, no, that's not real. Like I was like, that couldn't have happened. So they started pushing it again. Obviously they're not questioning what happened. They thought, they moved it. It stuck again, mud again, it stuck. And I done it again. I put my hand on it and said, Bismillah. And the thing went flying again. And that was it. From that moment, I knew that was the moment where I knew that Allah is the creator. And this is after I've looked into Christianity and I've looked into Hinduism, I've looked into Buddhism, I've looked into all these ways of life. And I was like, right, Islam has to be the truth. And then from there, things started. When I say 6 months, when I talk about my turnaround, when I started practicing, I went from not praying anything, zero, like during Ramadan, I used to go out and do whatever, right? From praying nothing to doing nothing to not knowing anything, from that day to the next, starting to pray what I thought I knew how to pray and just started praying pretty much 5 times a day, like just like that because of that situation. And then I started learning Deen. The more I learned about it, then I think that was in August. That was in August. When did I go on Umrah? 2010. That was around about August 2009, around about that time. And April 2010, I went on Umrah. I never paid for it. I went on it. My gran and granddad, they took some of the family, and my popo, she didn't get a visa. And this was 4 weeks before. She didn't get a visa. And they gave me the ticket, and I went. I didn't know what Umrah was. I knew nothing, but I followed it. And from there, when I first made the dua at the Kaaba, I said, "Ya Allah, please keep me on the guided path. Keep me on the straight and narrow." And always, I didn't know of these du'as. I didn't know nothing. I said, "Ya Allah, please keep me on a path that's going to be. If you're going to test me, don't test me with something that's going to take me away from Islam. Always test me with something that's going to bring me closer to Islam." So alhamdulillah, that was my opening journey into Islam. And then when people started seeing me and I started growing the beard straight away, when people started seeing me, they couldn't believe it. Do you know when they said Umar radiallahu anhu he's going to become Muslim, and they said his father's donkey will become Muslim before he does. That's what people thought of me. And so when I started practicing, they couldn't believe it. To this day, if I meet somebody who's not met me for a very long time and they're like, "Oh, it's Umar," they're like, "Wow, we didn't think you would ever practice." That's how much I was off the path.
So how did you give back?
How did I give back?
I mean, you went through a very. Yeah. I mean, this is too rare. Okay.
Yeah.
This almost never happens.
Yeah.
And almost never will. This is a special sign. A lightning did strike, like literally.
Twice.
Twice, yeah, in one day. And had to do in one day.
Yeah.
So now most people are going to look for that lightning. They're not going to find it.
No.
They're not going to find it.
No.
I'm going to say it in the camera. They're not going to find this kind of lightning. This is too rare. And I'm not saying it's never going to happen, of course, but this is not something that usually happens. Mm-hmm. Even though a lot of other things happen and people do make the transit. Mm-hmm. And not just that they make the transit, but my problem is that as soon as you make the transit, and everybody does, whoever Allah guides, okay, the journey actually starts there. It doesn't stop there, but our human brain is designed to go into that ease, mm-hmm. that, yeah, you know what, I'm special, and everybody is, and whoever Allah does guide is special. There's no doubt about that. But that special status is for a job role. Mm-hmm. It's not for the guy, mm-hmm. or the girl. So if I'm appointed a CEO of some company, that should really stress me out. I should literally go into depression.
Mm-hmm. With the pressure and the
stuff.
With
the pressure,
yeah.
So when I hear this story, and I've heard a few, and most of them are from converts from other religions.
Mostly, yeah.
I'm just thinking, okay, did you just shut the door? Is this a shut out?
No.
Or is this an opening for the rest of the globe to one man? Now, that's why I ask you, what did you give back? How did you give back? Are you giving back? Because there are a lot of boys in Bradford still.
Yeah.
Okay, still. And I've been to Bradford twice. And my God. If you have to show what happens to people who leave their own book might want to go to Bradford first before going to Pakistan, like literally. Okay.
Yes.
So if I were you, or if I were, because I am looking at from the, the outside, so I would naturally have more wisdom about this than you, because you're in the picture, right? Because I need a guide out from the outside, from my own life as well. Because he's looking at from the outside, he's looking at me making moves. He's looking at the end, he's looking at the rim, he's looking at my scope, and he's looking at me moving around the map, and he can guide me way better. Anybody would. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to guide, or coach, because he's got the bigger picture. Now, I would literally ask you whether did you go back to Bradford, or did you go look for those boys who were on the verge of wherever you were before you left the masjid, right?
Yeah.
And did you, after coming back, reconstruct the base so that you wouldn't be looking for these big jolts of lightning, right? And bolts, actually, and which is going to be a question in everybody's mind who's going to be listening to this. Am I also going to get this kind of sign? No. See, now the problem that I have is that a potential like yours, and not just the fact that you are who you are, but where you are right now. See, I've seen so much good in Scotland, and I've been just about in every city in England. And I came I came to Scotland, I was thinking, there's too much of a difference between two different.
It's like crazy.
Two different.
It's
crazy. So how did that happen?
It's like there's a sea in between these
I know. It's like a different continent, I swear. And so I got hope.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm riding that highway right now of optimism, and I see masjids with kids here, nightclubs going in masjids, people bringing Muslim kids, and they're playing around.
Yeah.
And women, like literally women packing up masjids. This is not something that's going on in England. They actually brought Pakistan in England, installed tiny little Pakistan. They made sure that whatever, good or bad, that is going on in Pakistan happened in England. And that is something that the Scots divorced. They actually, reconstructed their, whatever culture that you want to call it, inside the Muslim bounds. So how did you, and how are you reconstructing the concepts, grounding them in, making sure they seep deep enough so that you wouldn't, because you cannot underestimate Satan, right?
No.
I mean, there's no way. I mean, that's like the first mistake any Muslim would make. So this time, Iblis himself is going to come in.
Yes.
Tiny little devils, putting waswasas in a 10-year-old when you actually left. That's too petty.
Yeah.
Now that you made it back, now Iblis himself is going to come in.
Sends his generals, then he sends himself, and and I can speak testament to this because I need to write a book. My story is crazy. So I got married, I became homeless. After that year, I got married in 2011. 8 months later, became homeless. And that's a separate issue because, when the daughter-in-law comes into the family and, the family, that's a whole separate issue. But alhamdulillah, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. And I remember I started listening to Surah Al-Fath. I didn't realize what Surah Al-Fath was, Inna Fatahna Laka Fathun Mubina. And I didn't realize, I didn't know what Hudaybiyah was. I didn't realize what the treaty was, this, Allah Azza wa Jal calls it the victory. So for me, this is the most lowest point of my life. I've become home. I've been riding a wave for a year and a half. This wave that you're talking about, static. I'm learning everything new. I've started adeem class. I'm learning as much as I can. I'm like a sponge. I got married. Then suddenly life comes to a halt. It's like a wall, brick. It hits you.
Yeah.
And I became homeless. And for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, I didn't know what I was doing. I went from being having a shop that turned over £1.2 million a year to having nothing in my bank account. Literally nothing. I had money, then I had never had money. I don't come from money. I come from a very, a council estate or a Scottish ghetto, if you want. I grew up with drug users and all this sort of stuff. So I come from nothing. Then I got rich, and then I went to nothing again, almost overnight. I went to my in-laws and stayed there for a while, and then there was a Juma. There's a brother. His name's the Sunnah guy. He's quite, alhamdulillah, he's popular with the kids and whatnot. He's
in Scotland?
In around the world, on Instagram and TikTok and things like that. He's quite big. I think he was about 18 at the time. So it's about 11 years ago. And I was at a Jummah and he walked in. And I remember he was wearing a black thobe like this. I think he was wearing a black thobe. He had long hair, very young. His beard was, oily and, shiny. And it was like this, typical words. It was like Noor, it was coming off him. And I said to my brother-in-law, I was like, who's that? And he goes, oh, that's Shu'aib. He does the dawah stall. And I was like, okay, I want to speak to him. So I went with him. And do you know when I said lightning doesn't strike twice usually? This is my third time.
Yeah, I was about to say that, yeah.
This is my third time, right? And we went with him. So I introduced myself. My father-in-law, he's quite well known in his area in England. The whole family is. And I goes, oh, I'm so-and-so's son-in-law. I just got married and whatnot. And I goes, oh, my brother-in-law told me that you do the dawah table. And he goes, yes. I goes, can I come with you? I've never given dawah really in my life. I didn't know how to give dawah. I didn't know the concept of it. I wouldn't have the first idea on how to convey that message. I had experience, my experience of, being away from Islam and yada yada and things like that. That's all I had. So we went to the dawah table and he's sitting there giving dawah, whatever. I'm watching. I'm like, this is amazing. We had a couple of shahadas, and then the guy Shu'aib came to me, or I went up to Shu'aib and I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, go give him dawah. And the way I said it was rude. The Scots can be quite abrasive and quite, like...
I know.
So I went, go give him dawah. And he looked at me like, who are you? Like, why are you telling me to do that? And I can give who dawah? So this guy had just walking out the shopping centre. So he looked at me like very confused. We just went up to the guy, started giving him dawah. Literally 2 minutes later, the guy took his shahada. And I was like, what is this? This is insane. And then I started working with an organisation called IERA, Islamic Education Research Academy, back in 2012. They had a massive event, the Olympics dawah, with 500 people from the surrounding areas. They went, they taught them how to give da'wah. They gave them a basic script and then they sent them out. It was a massive thing back then, and the organisation grew. And I ended up working with them. I became a trainer. So I used to go up and down the country teaching people how to give da'wah. I started a Facebook page. Facebook back then, I'm talking 2012, 2013, I had like 30,000 followers or something along those lines. I had a YouTube page. I had about 10,000 subscribers. This is before monetization, and this is before, it was popular to have followers and things like that. And I didn't know what I was doing, so I was just putting out videos. And then that's how I started giving back. First of all, I started giving back. I started speaking to I started attending a lot of debates. So I debated, atheists, I debated Christians. These are your two main categories. And this is when you were talking about debates earlier on. This is why I was laughing. I was like, I know. Yeah, I was laughing because I didn't really I'd been through Aqidah. I had, studied Aqidah. I had studied, the deen. I had the basic principles. What you find a lot nowadays is a lot of these people don't have these basic foundations. And this is why they make a lot of mistakes within these debates. And the purpose of a debate is, I don't like it because when we're debating, my objective is to mentally outdo you, and your objective is to mentally outdo me. We're not coming to common terms. I'm not giving you da'wah, and I'm not listening to your perspective. I know. And then, unfortunately, you've got hundreds and thousands and millions of people that watch this. And like you said earlier on, a lot of people try and take the knowledge from this. And then, if I make a mistake, the people that are on my side, they're not going to know it's a mistake, and they're going to take that as fiqh, or they're going to take it as aqidah. They're going to take it as something, and then they're going to go spread that, which is really, really wrong. And I think this is what you were alluding to at the start. So what I'm doing now is, my son was born premature. I had to stop all dawah. I took advice from a scholar. I deleted my Facebook page. It was probably the worst mistake I probably did. I deleted my Facebook page. I deleted my YouTube page because I was giving fatwa and I was giving rulings.
Oh yeah, well, that's a good thing you did that.
And I did that for that reason. So I deleted that. I went away and I'd say I'm like the very basic student of knowledge just now, but
that's not what I meant when I just asked you what are you giving back.
Yeah, so what I'm giving back now is I'm more of an online presence. So I'm not actually, and I feel bad because I'm not concentrating on my local communities. I'm not concentrating on these boys from Bradford. What I'm concentrating on right now is I've got an online platform on TikTok and Instagram, and what I'm doing is I'm sharing I remember back when, remember right at the start, I said the family, we're not taught what Islam is. We're not taught we're taught really, as a kid, you're taught, don't do this, you go Jahannam, you go to hellfire, you know.
I know.
So what I've done, it's very niche, and it's not, I can't see it's been done anywhere to the level that I'm doing it, is that I take a small dua, something very, very simple. For example, Rasulullah said, whoever asks for forgiveness of all the Muslims, then Allah Azza wa Jalla will be written, the angels will write for you a good deed for every single Muslim that's alive. So essentially 2 billion good deeds could be written for you if you ask for the forgiveness of all, for the Muslims. So I did that. I do things like that. So I take very small small short du'as with high rewards. It's like Islamic, it's like halal clickbait, if you want. I take that and I introduce people, these kids to Islam that they've never seen this side of it. And my inbox at the moment is full of...
What was that? Yeah. What side of Islam?
So the side of Islam where the reward aspect of Islam, in terms of, you know, you can get good deeds for doing this. You've got Jannah. You can get, for example, if you do this good deed, you can get X amount of rewards from that hadith. And the reason why I did that and I went down that angle is because majority of us, people in the kids in the West, all we were ever taught about was Jahannam. And you're going to get punished. Don't do drugs, you get punished. Don't drink alcohol, you get punished. Don't.
Hold on, let's just go back to that Scott, whoever his name was,
yeah,
who asked you a certain question,
yep,
which actually started the whole snowball for you. And you doing the exact same thing, actually the exact opposite of what this dude got moved from. Actually, you got moved from his comment, right? Now you're not putting the mizan in. Yep. You're actually putting making the same mistake, aren't you?
No. So I learned from my past mistakes. So my channel is not just about all good and things like that.
No, but you keep on, alluding to the fact that, kids are being taught Jahannam. I know kids should not. Let me go to the camera. Kids under 10. They should know about Jannah. They should know about the values. Yeah. Jahannam is a concept for a totally different part of the brain. That brain is not there for the child.
What I do is I've got a balance. So I talk about, you need to pray, you need to do this. And the reason why we need to do it is because...
Let me ask you a question, because I know what you're trying to get at. You said all the right words.
Yeah.
But you're not tying them to the right anchor.
Yeah.
So people of Lut alayhi salam, people of Lut alayhi salam, they were praying, people who followed him, of course, they were praying, I'm talking about his group.
Yeah.
And they were doing da'wah, and they were fasting, they were doing everything, under the commandments of Ibrahim alayhi salam. But when God sent his wrath upon them, he said, first, let those people come under this fire, this barrage of stones coming from heavens. Who are the followers of Lut? Because that's not why I sent you down there. That's not the purpose of Islam.
To give dawah to the...
You need to do a lot more.
Yeah.
See, when a dog falls down a well, you need to get the dog out before you start bucketing it out.
No, that's fine. I get that. My early days, I used to do street da'wah. I used to go out.
No, I'm not against da'wah.
Yeah, so I used to go out and do. My favorite one was to go to the high schools and talk about Islam.
Again, that's not where I'm trying to get you at. Listen, let me construct this so that you would know exactly the emotion I'm trying to actually drive. Because you're like this asset, and I need to juice every ounce of potential. And so here it is. Hold on. See, the job of a Muslim is not to make other human beings come into Islam.
No, it's to convey the message. That's Allah's job, is to bring them into Islam.
No. Hold on. I know that.
Yeah.
And I totally agree to that. Don't worry about it. Our job is to make sure that people understand Islam. Okay? So if you're giving dawah, and I'm talking about all of Islam. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you're giving dawah about, why to believe in Allah, why to pray, why to fast, why to do good, they're going to understand the value of these things, but they're not going to understand Islam.
No, I get that. Yeah, no. So you have to. When I say da'wah to normal, right? So for example,
well, let me give you an analogy because I want you to answer this properly. There's this company, and people are, people know there's a company in their town, and this company is giving dawah to come and join the company.
Yep.
But no one's talking about the grand vision of the company, the yearly objectives, and the reason why this company exists. Everyone's talking about some element of the code of conduct of the company. And every employee takes one of those little codes, prints them out, becomes really eloquent on it, and go out the street and starts talking about that one
code.
That one code. Different codes, different people.
Yep.
And a lot of these people actually do end up converting people into working for the company because of the simplicity of the code. People like it. People are suffering from whatever, and they need some kind of job, so they come in. And that's, by the way, that's what's going on. A lot of depressed people come into Islam just to find solace. Okay. And I'd rather them go to Buddhism than to Islam for a reason, because if you're coming in for to mend your emotional disorders, you're going to get a bunch more, because Islam is going to give you a lot of responsibility and you're not going to be able to fulfill it.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So a lot of people I know, in America and Canada, I know, actually studied and worked in Canada. So a lot of people used to convert to Islam because they had broken families. They had bad traumatic childhood. They had bad marriages going on. They used to start to blame the church for it or whatever. And they were looking for solace, a softer word of comfort, if you may, in a sense of a little sense of community. It's like a divorced women's club, Everybody comes in, talks about how bad the man is, and you just have something in common. And let's go back to that company now. So now you get the flavor. Now, when I see dawah going on, especially internationally, not in Muslim lands, they don't talk about why the company exists.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you. I'm going to put you on the spot on this one so that we can actually drive something here. Now, I know, and I believe, and I know that you're a way better Muslim than I am.
No, we don't know each other's.
I'm just saying,
yeah.
Let's call a spade a spade. Because I know where my fractures are. And may Allah give you istiqamah. What if somebody asks you, what is the objective of Islam? What is the big purpose of Islam? What's the answer to that question?
To worship the Creator. That's what Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran. I will not created you anything but to worship me. But I'm not going to say it like that. I'm not going to say to the person, if somebody who doesn't have no clue about the Creator or anything.
No, that's not what I'm going to. No, my question would be, it's a follow-up. It's like this statement is begging for a deeper question. Worship Him in terms of giving salah, that's worship?
It's part of worship.
So everybody starts praying in the world, and is it Islam is done?
No. You have to follow. You have to follow completely whatever. This is what Islam means, is to submit yourself. It's to submit yourself, isn't it? And what you're submitting to is
3 billion people.
Yeah.
Who are Christians.
Yeah.
They claim to submit themselves to some God, right?
Yeah.
All the Jews, according to them, submit to some God.
Yeah.
So we're saying that submit to God. They're saying submit to God. No one's talking about the big vision of what's going to happen if you submit to God. So that from that vision, we reverse engineer the KPIs of everybody. Because if there's no vision, you're not going to be able to know the definition of worship.
Yep.
So let me give you an example. the worst people in the eyes of Islam are the people who are keeping their salah, they're fasting, they do their hajj, they do umrah every year, by
Yeah.
3.2 million, 32 million, I'm sorry. 32 million people did umrah last year.
Yeah.
32 million people. And I'm assuming, Husnazan, that they're keeping their prayers rest of the year as well.
Yeah.
They're fasting.
Inshallah, yeah.
Yeah. This is where they come to do their umrah. And this is Palestine. They come around Palestine, they go back, they're fasting, they're paying zakat, they're doing their prayers. Of course, they believe in Tawheed, and they did their hajj. Now you tell me, according to the definition of worship, according to the codes that we keep on giving them, oh, they're doing way better than any employee in the company. You know what I'm saying? So if you did not know what the vision of this company is, they would think that they deserve a raise.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though 40,000 Palestinians being killed while they're doing Umrah. While they're doing Umrah. And they're actually talking to each other. Mommy's saying to the daughter, daddy's saying to the son, while doing Umrah, that you know what, see, God has given us this opportunity. God has cleansed us. We are the chosen ones. Nobody just makes it to this holy place without God's will. God has called upon us. God has called literally us here. 200 aerial miles distance. 40,000 kids are saying to the same God that we are not gonna let them cross that bridge of Sirat on the day of judgment, because they had all the means. They were 32 million, and they came a foot close, and they turned their back on us. They came from all over the world, and they turned their back on us. So you tell me, what part of worship disqualifies a guy who is fulfilling all the KPIs, those 5 KPIs. Now I'm going to reiterate the story of Lut alayhi salam, of why these people were stoned first. Why these people were stoned first. You know, so when we do dawah, I'll tell you this right now. If I were a non-Muslim, and any Muslim comes to me and he says, you know, I want you to believe in Allah and the Prophet ﷺ and become a Muslim, I'd ask a very simple question. That your religion, 2 billion of you guys believe in that one religion. Is there a part of your religion, because there is evidently some commonality that you guys have, is there a part of your manifesto that you turn your backs on your own people and you think you're good Muslims, and you have the audacity to come to me and put me in the same boat? You're calling me, and you're calling on that boat, and you're calling it Noah's Ark, where 40,000 of your believers, your brethren, your sisters, your kids, inside your own homeland, you're surrounding all of those Palestinian kids through your territories. You want me to become a part of that religion? Where you feel good, do your umrahs, do your hajjs, and you let your kids die? I'd rather be in some gang where my gangmates are going to die for me, even if all of the world calls us evil. We ourselves feel evil when we're in a gang. We got tattoos of Lucifer, but someone's going to come and save me if I'm in trouble. And that's the code of every gang in the world.
Yep.
You've been in one, you know, every one of your brothers would act like a brother. Now, why I'm asking you is that if you do not know the vision, this is just one of the symptoms. Palestine is not the cause of any of our diseases. It's just a symptom. The real cause is that we feel good Muslims somehow have this deeper definition inside of us, which puts us to sleep so sound that the rest of the world can hear our snoring slumbers.
SubhanAllah.
you know, and these slumbers are so loud that it actually hides away the hues and the cries of every dying child in Gaza. See, so I hope you get the.
No, I get the point what you're saying.
Yeah,
I get the point what you're saying.
I mean, I'm asking every da'i, and I am one, alhamdulillah.
So my thing is that, and I bang on about this, and people say there's a multitude you can bring out the hadith about the du'as not being answered when Rasul says those who don't enjoin good and forbid evil then wait for the punishment of Allah, and the Sahaba radiallahu ajma'in goes, what's the punishment? And Rasul says the du'a won't be answered. If you, like you said, you go to Bradford and you look at it and you see how far away they are from the deen, and you know some of them, you make excuses for the ones you do husn al-dhann, that's fine, you can do it, but then you look at the ones who know. There's imams down there that I know of that are basically gangsters. They know the deen, they know everything inside and out, and yet they act like gangsters. You know, they intimidate people, they do disgusting deeds publicly. And when you've got that going on within your own community, and then you see when you see people following that, because it does one of two things: either people are going to follow it, or it's going to put people off, which drives them further away from Islam or whatever, right? Like you mentioned there. And for me, and I'm quite open about this and I'm quite honest about this, the reason why our ummah is going through what we're going through, and you've got these, you know, sleeping Muslims as you call them, or the ones that are in slumbers, it's our own doing. It's our own faults.
What's that fault?
That fault is that maybe we don't understand the vision of Allah, of what Islam is.
No, it's not maybe. Right? See, that's the problem.
It is. So we don't understand the vision. We don't understand that because we're not doing all these things that we're supposed to do. The Quran's not a Wi-Fi book. It's not just to be held on top of somebody's head at a wedding, and it doesn't issue. But the Quran, that's mocking the Quran. So we're out here legitimately mocking the Quran. We spread this. We give trouble to the people who don't do these, you know, these silly acts. We don't understand the language of the Quran. We've been disassociated from what the actual teachings are of the Quran, and then because we don't follow these steps knowingly, the ones that knowingly, you can't be unjust. Islam is not unjust. Not the ones that are unknowingly do it, because if they don't know, how do they? The ones who know, and the ones that know what to do and what they should be doing, and they knowingly disobey it openly, we're in this situation because of that. And then we're given the leaders. People blame the leaders, but the leaders are a reflection of the people. The leaders literally come from the people. We allow it to happen. So, without getting cancelled or anything along those lines, we can sit here and say that, you know, we actually don't have, me and you don't have the capabilities to go into Gaza. Like, I work with a charity. I went to one of our warehouses that supply the aid to Gaza. There's a village outside Gaza where all the trucks go through, and they've got snipers sitting there, even before you enter Gaza, aimed on the trucks as they're going in. There's a wall on one side, there's a sea on the other side. You can't literally get in to do anything. It's the only place in the world that I think right now, you literally can't go, even if you wanted to go there. Right now, it's next to impossible to get in. It's next to impossible. You know, there's means and ways into it, but right now, you literally couldn't.
Muslims themselves bombed those tunnels.
Yes.
This very year.
Well, we say Muslims.
Oh, they're Muslims?
Yeah, we say Muslims.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You know, they sleep sound every day, every night, these Egyptians.
But who put them in power?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm getting at right now. You know who put them in power? Who did not have a vision of Islam, and they still had a feeling of Islam that's putting them to sleep every night. That's exactly my contention is. That's exactly when I said, you know what, you'd rather route people to Buddhism. Because Muslims right now, the current definition of Islam right now is a franchise of Buddhism. We're going to do good, feel good, turn our eyes away from evil. That's practically what Buddhism is.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Maybe not the best way to put it, but for me...
No, it's not the best or worst. It's the most effective way to wake up Muslims.
It's to shock them.
Yeah,
it's to shock them, yeah.
Yeah, I know. So, see, here's the thing. The original definition of Islam is so attractive that every boy, 12, 13, 14, would fascinate to be a part of this company. I mean, it is so uncanny that you got to take over the world, you got to go to space, you got to find all the signs in the universe, understand the geometry of the seven heavens, try and make sure you research into, the knowledge of the bigger and greater things. Otherwise, the word Allahu Akbar will never be understood. Allahu Akbar can only be understood if you understand how big the universe is. I mean, that's basic for any Sahabi. That's basic. Subhanallah. The phrase Subhanallah can only be understood if you understand the seventh heaven and water on top of it. But Subhanallah means swimming on top of the seventh heaven. So every Muslim needs to be a political leader by the definition of Quran. Every Muslim has to be a researcher of space sciences, by the definition of the Quran. Every Muslim has to be a performer, outshine the last generation. Otherwise, he's not going to get the Khilafah, which is Adam alayhi salam's inheritance to us. I'll tell you something. These 3-4 fundamentals are just like the fear of snakes is innate, right? In the Bible, people who follow the Bible and are into psychology, you know what they say? They say it's innate because Adam alayhi salam. And you know what? It makes sense. They're actually, istidlal is from the Bible, right? So I'm like, yeah, kudos to you guys. And that makes a lot of sense because science does not know where the fear of snakes comes in. What I'm talking to you about this is that if you look at the pattern of the human beings in the last 3,000-4,000 years, you'll find out that every human cluster aggregated themselves around their innate demand of these three or four things. Power, trying to get as much power, hence imperialism, hence colonialism, hence slavery, hence this and that. And you see all those, political lines being drawn, different powers trying to exert themselves into, trying to get resources and trying to sustain and maintain the power. The word career, as attractive as it is, holds those little flavors that run deeper into our psychology. And all of these 4 things are so commonly spread in all cultures and creeds. So when we know the human behavior, we know the group behavior, we know the individual demands from within us, you can see that, if we had defined Islam properly, the way Prophet defined it for the Sahaba, this would have been the primary career for every girl and boy at age 10 plus.
Yep.
But we took out all of whatever the most fascinating, most powerful, most exhilarating, most attractive thing is. We took it out and we said, you know what? Become a Buddhist-like Muslim.
So
go into Zen.
I understand what you're saying. But there's a deeper, behind all this, for me.
No, hold on. What I'm telling you is, this is the dawah. This is the basic of dawah. You know what? You need to take over the world, buddy. This is the manual. And if you're not taking over the world, this manual will be, it'll hold witness against you. Hold itself witness against you. You're dead. If you do not hold power. This Quran is going to testify against you. If you are not into politics, you're not going to be able to get into power. If you're not into space programs, you're not going to be able to look up in the heavens, which Allah in the Quran is saying hundreds of times. Why don't you look up and see and understand and decipher the codes? So what I'm saying is, this dawah, NASA is doing. This dawah, Imperial America is doing. This dawah, liberal democracy is doing. And what we're doing is, you know what? If you have a broken family, come, we'll give you solace.
I understand what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I want to see people are going to listen to that. What Sahil is saying, he's not saying that every single person needs to be a space scientist. He's saying that.
Oh no! That's exactly what I'm saying.
I'm going to define this. What I'm going to say is that because some people have their specialities in certain.
I'm talking about working knowledge. Obviously, there'll be outliers.
The basic, That's what I'm talking about. Because
but if I do not have a working knowledge of space, I'm not supposed to get married. Let alone have kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So-
Because if there is no Michael Faraday, there is no John Maxwell.
Yeah.
Michael Faraday was not a mathematician. Maxwell was. Michael Faraday was a philosopher. Maxwell was a scientist. If I can convert all Muslims into Faradays, they're going to breed Maxwells in their homes. That's what the Sahabas did. That's why Tabi'in came up with the mathematics, physics, biology, chemistry.
That's because the Quran tells you to tadabbur. So the Sahaba
No, it
were
don't
very
tell you.
basic.
It orders you.
Right. So when you see the Sahaba, I think we've only got a few minutes left. But when you see the Sahaba, they were simplistic people. They were very simple. Right?
Says who?
Not in the sense of as in they had mental health issues. What they didn't get influenced by nonsense. They didn't get influenced by philosophy. They didn't get influenced by
because they had an original philosophy.
Yeah, they had the original, and that's what you call your aqidah. The firm belief.
No, hold on. You're using the wrong word right now. See, when Abdullah bin Abbas, when they asked him, the Sahabas, when Allah said, "Iza shamsu kuwirat," what does that actually mean? And you know what he does? He takes a turban, he starts turning it around, and it says, "This is how the sun is going to be turning into darkness." Now we know how the star spirals itself into a singularity.
Yeah.
Now, how did he know? This is not a simple guy. This guy is much of a philosopher.
I understand that. Yeah. Understand that. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, Prophet Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu says, I learned Surah Baqarah in 8 years from the Prophet. 8 years? That's the Alim course right now. Jam al-Azhar. Jam al-Azhar. You know, so this is not a luxury in Islam.
We've been taught the passive version, to be passive. We're passive people, especially the Pakistani community. We're very passive.
It's not. It's all over the world.
Yeah,
it's all over.
From what I see, we're very passive.
Hence, franchise of Buddhism.
Yeah.
That's why I call it a franchise.
We're very passive. As soon as you talk about jihad or fi sabilillah or anything like that, people flinch. They're like, oh my God, don't talk about this. Since 9/11, I was 15 when that happened. I remember it. And I remember when they used to freely use the word jihad. You know, they used to talk about it. And after
both Pakistanis, every Pakistani since 1940s, dream job, Pakistan Army. And I'm like, you know what, when I say Islam and jihad, all of a sudden you think I'm Al-Qaeda. You need to go into the army.
It still is.
I know it should be. But what I'm saying is, it is an innate definition, an innate marker of biology to go into army. Okay? It is the definition of a man to be a warrior. It's built in every human man, and a lot of females as well. But when Islam says it, all of a sudden, there's this cultural psychology that comes in. You know, I'm not going to do Islam's jihad, I'm going to do American jihad. I get that because somebody redefined Islam in the last 500-600 years. And that's exactly what I am talking about. If you want to give dawah of the latest version of Islam, it's going to create a bigger lump of cancer. If you want to give dawah, give it according to.
And I don't think you disagree with they need to learn the basic of who Allah is, who Rasulullah is, and the purpose of the messengers, and this is what it is.
No, let me conclude this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the basic. Let me give you an example. Last 2 minutes. When you say who is a prophet, let alone our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. See, this is where space science is coming into play. This is the Quran's science of astronomy. A prophet, alayhi salam, all of them, especially a Rasul, he's not only here on this planet. This man, alayhi salam, whoever he is, Musa, Ibrahim alayhi salam, or whoever Prophet met in the journey of Miraj, these human beings are there in other heavens. Prophet testified it. Okay. Now, I'm a human child, a Muslim boy and a girl, and he's growing 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right now, they're YouTubing SpaceX right now, without mommy's knowing about this. Mommy's putting them on Dora and whatever cartoon right now going on. They're going into SpaceX, right? Because that's also innate.
Yeah.
We came from somewhere. We are aliens here. Natural, innate disposition is to look up and try and go back. So when we say the basics, what is the Rasul? Rasul is a central figure in the bigger systems around the universe. That's the basic meaning of Rahmatul Alameen. The word Alameen
Is of all the worlds.
Yeah, in other words.
And everything, yeah.
Now, he is working here in front of us, and he's also working somewhere else in some other realms and dimensions, which we can't fathom right now. Our job is to know that. That's basic. So when you're doing dawah, all of us, this has become an overwhelming concept for a lot of people. Like, oh, are you telling me you believe in dimensions and aliens and space? Yeah, that's the Quran. That's the Quran. When we say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, that's the start of the Quran. The Quran starts with that. If you do not define the word Alameen in front of a child, you took him off of the base. This boy would have been an astronomer from day one. The verse 1 of the Quran makes us astronomers. And that is the most fascinating thing for any non-Muslim or a Muslim, because we're all human beings. We're innately disposed to look up, try and grab whatever we can and rise up. This is the first thing that you should know, that you know what? We come from a religion which believes in 7 heavens and dimensions. And the concept of Allah Azza wa Jal is such a multi-dimensional concept that if we recite Surah Nur, especially the verse 34, 5, 6, you'll find out that, you know, their core tenet of belief about Allah, when Allah Himself, Allah Azza wa Jal, defines, is simply about Himself. You know, this should fascinate every blood cell inside a brain of a regular human being, be it Catholic, be it an atheist, be it anybody. So when we use the word dawah, I need it to be redefined based on the psychological markers, the basic biology of a human being. You look at these MRIs. When you go on the street, you should look at an MRI of, you know, how all this is built into the system.
So when I know our time's come to an end, but from the seerah, you have to look at how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent the Sahabas to give da'wah as well. You have to look at when he sent Musab ibn Umair, when he sent him to Medina radiallahu anh, when he sent him to Medina and how he gave da'wah there, when he sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen and how they gave da'wah there.
I'll tell you how.
There were 2 different types.
No, I'll tell you how. When Prophet gathered every Muslim in Hajjatul Wada, listen to the word of the Prophet. He says, have I given you the message? Have I delivered it in full? They said, we testify that you have. Now you go to every part of the world and spread this message. Because they, who you're going to give message to, they will understand it better than you. That's the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How are people other than the Arabs, other than the Sahabas, are going to get it better than the Sahabis? You know how? Because these people will be going through all their sciences, and when they're going to hear and understand the Quran, they'll be like, that's the exact answer I'm looking for. Right now, space scientists and philosophers of actual science, the smartest people in the world right now, but they're saying it's the 2 things we cannot understand. And the biggest question is, what is dark energy? What's going on in the black hole? And what's going on inside our brains? And that is the 2 things Allah is coupling in every single ayah. And can't you look? في الآفاق وفي أنفسكم في السماوات وفي أنفسكم. Imagine this. I mean, I'm quoting those scientists right now.
This is what I said at the start. I'll show them within yourselves and on the horizons.
Hence, space program. So in other words, if a Muslim does not have a space program or not a part of it, he's not Muslim by definition of this company. You need to understand how grand this vision is. And we're just picking up one code at a time, and it's not even rightly defined. And it's just, everybody's out the street trying to gather everybody in, and not knowing that, you know, we're just getting depressed people inside Islam, you know, trying to open sanctuaries. And,
but that's guidance from Allah as well, because you can't say if that person was not getting, and I understand your concept of rather attract them to Buddhism or whatever, but the form of the message that they're hearing, that is the form of the message that's for them.
No, it's our job. It's not their fault. Our job is to give all of Islam, not some of it.
No, they understand it. But for somebody to accept Islam, the first thing is it's the basics, the foundations. They have to accept Allah Azza wa Jal. Rasulullah is the last messenger and all the messages in between. That's
and what is a messenger?
That's Yeah, you get that. And the basic concept...
Wouldn't this question come before?
Yeah, no, you explain... So you explain, the, for example, right, the way we do it, the way I do it anyway, right, is that you have to explain to them that he's a messenger, he's the representation of Allah Azza wa Jal on earth, right? And so he is giving...
See, this is a child's question, so I'm sure everybody is indulged going to ask you, okay, what do you mean when you say Allah Azza wa Jal? This is even an 8-year-old question.
Yeah.
This is actually a 4-year-old question.
Yeah, when you think of it, you spoke like you think he's the creator of the universe. He
no, that's everything. Attributes. Right? No. What is Allah Azza wa Jal? What do you see when you say Allah Azza wa Jal? See, the Prophet said, Allah is what you deem it to be. Okay? If you deem Allah as an attribute, He's going to meet you with that attribute. If you deem Allah with other attributes, He's going to meet you with those very attributes. What I need every Muslim child, when they hear the word Allah, they should see every bit of this whole universe. Okay? And the arsh of Allah on top of it. And then Allah Azza wa Jal ruling all of this little, capillaries and these veins and these arteries running through the 7 heavens. I need every Muslim to see them. Unless he sees those 7 heavens and all of those angels moving around as, a constant motion, they're not going to see Baytullah, they're not going to see Baytul Mahmud, they're not going to see Arsh of Allah, and hence they're not going to understand what Allah Azza wa Jalla and how He's doing it. And He's explaining literally all of this in the Quran. Like literally, I'm not actually paraphrasing right now. I mean, this is the literal way of how the Quran is actually making every Muslim understand the whole geometry of it. So when you say the word Allah, all of us and people are like, yeah, you know what? I have sinned. I have sinned, oh my Muslim brother. Tell me if your Allah is forgiving. Yeah, Allah is forgiving. That's not what Allah is. Allah is the creator of everything. And you need to know what everything is, so you know how minuscule you are, so your sin would not have any value in front of the attribute of forgiveness of Rahim. And that's just one of the many. And we only know a few handful. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's time. I think we've run out of time. That was insightful. Inshallah, we'll continue one day. I'm sure we will. So Jazakumullah khair for coming to Scotland.
Oh, thank you.
Barakallah. And it was a very interesting conversation, and I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of things to say, but Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.